who are the drivers of violence in our communities. The concept behind this interagency law enforcement operation, such as Operation Northstar, evolved largely from the regional and district fugitive task forces, such as the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force that is positioned here in the Western District of Texas. The agencies and agencies representatives standing here beside me provided an abundance of resources from investigative research, operational planning, and selflessness manpower that saturated the community for a successful operation to remove violent offenders and place them in custody where they will await judicial process. Operation Northstar was represented by 97 specialized Deputy United States Marshals with 5 investigators and 1 analyst from the United States Naval Criminal Investigative Service, better known as NCIS. The operation was assisted with an additional 49 law enforcement officers, 17 Deputy United States Marshals from the Western District of Texas. This operation resulted in the arrest of 727 fugitives, which closed and executed 978 warrants. The San Antonio Division focal warrants, these are warrants that are specifically for this type of operation, totaled 554 arrests and are broken down into categories such as 270 arrests for assault, 75 arrests for weapon offenses, as well as 100 for sexual offenses, 88 for robberies, and 21 for homicides. Not only were these arrests successful, but we also here in the San Antonio Division seized a total of 100 firearms, which ranked second in the country here amongst the 10 metropolitan cities that participated in Operation Northstar. Also seized 7 vehicles, which ranked San Antonio first in the country, and also seized $32,300 in United States currency, which is second in the country, and 141.232 kilograms of various narcotics, which placed us second in the country. Statistically overall, the San Antonio Division ranked number 1 in the country amongst all other 9 participating metropolitan areas. Please allow me to introduce agency representatives that are in the San Antonio Division that contributed to this successful operation. To my right, we have United States Marshal Service, Western District of Texas, Chief John Allen. We have the United States Marshal Service, Western District of Texas, Supervisory Deputy United States Marshal Eddie Sanchez. We have the United States Marshal Service, Western District of Texas, Supervisory Deputy United States Marshal Tim Anderson. We have the United States Attorney from the Western District of Texas, Attorney Jaime Esparza. We have the Bexar County District Attorney's Office, Chief Ruben Segovia, and San Antonio Police Department Assistant Chief of Police, Karen Fox. To my left, I have Bexar County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Nancy Sanford, Texas Department of Public Safety Regional Director Vincent Luciano, Texas Attorney General's Office Major Rusty Habit, United States Naval Criminal Investigative Service Special Agent in Charge Arturo Hernandez, and we have the New Braunfels Police Department, who could not be in attendance today, followed by the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Office Inspector General Lieutenant Gary Wilbank, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, better known as ATF. We have the Assistant Special Agent in Charge Robert Topper, and Homeland Security, Immigration, and Customs Enforcement, who could not be in attendance today. I would now like to invite the Chief of the Western District of Texas, John Allen, to come forward to make remarks on Operation Northstar.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this event to highlight the success of Operation Northstar here in San Antonio, Texas. As mentioned earlier, this operation was initiated on May the 10th and concluded on September 13th. It resulted in numerous arrests for assaults, weapon offenses, sexual offenses, robberies, and homicides, as well as seizures for firearms, U.S. currencies, vehicles, and drugs. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the agencies and the agency representative who are here with us today for their support during this operation and their ongoing support in our daily work. A strong relationship with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies enable us to make a positive impact and significantly improve the safety and well-being of our communities by removing violent criminals and making our neighborhoods safer. We also strive to bring closure for the victims and their families who have been affected by violent crimes. Since the 1980s, the United States Marshal Service have worked closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, pooling our resources and expertise together to gather intelligence and to collaborate on operations. This joint effort helps us to mitigate risk and assist in everything from operational planning to executing felony warrants, which often pose great risk for our law enforcement officers. We are committed to tracking down violent criminals who hide in the shadows of our community and bring them to justice.
Thank you, Chief Allen. At this time, I'd like to have our agency representatives come forward for additional remarks. First being the United States Attorney, Jaime Esparza.
Good afternoon. I just have very few remarks. I'm very pleased to be standing with this group of very committed law enforcement partners who make our community safe. Operation Northstar doesn't come easily. It requires lots of planning. It requires agencies committed to not just making our community safe, I think especially committed to violent crime and its reduction. The Attorney General is committed in his overall plan to reducing violent crime, among many things, but violent crime is a priority for the Attorney General. And the Department of Justice is pleased to be able to say we are partners in this operation to ensure that, one, this community is safe and that we are working together. So I think there's two things you should take away. One, the numbers of the people who were arrested, that just shows our commitment to a plan, to a community. And the next thing you should take into account is this view. The partners that stand to my left and to my right, I'm proud to stand with them. I'm thankful for their commitment to their agencies and to our communities to make sure that we are safe and that they are committed to reducing violent crime. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Esparza. Also now coming forward, United States Naval Criminal Investigative Services Special Agent in Charge, Arturo Hernandez.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arturo Hernandez. I'm Special Agent representing the Naval Criminal Investigative Service Central Field Office. It is an honor today to be here amongst my law enforcement colleagues to highlight the success of Operation Northstar. NCIS's mission is broad and diverse, but at the heart of it, we focus on protecting our warfighters, their families, and the communities they call home. Operation Northstar is a great example of that. When crime impacts military members or their families, it can directly impact operational readiness and lethality of the warfighter. Ensuring we maintain a force capable of defending our nation is of critical importance. The successful apprehension of fugitives and violent offenders through enforcement actions like Operation Northstar demonstrates how collaborative efforts to combat crime can mitigate and deter very real criminal threats to Department of Defense and Department of Navy personnel. I'm especially proud NCS could assist our law enforcement partners present here today, including representatives from the U.S. Marshal Service, Lone Star Fugitives Task Force, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and our partners representing various Texas departments and offices. The success of this operation is a testament to the professionalism, hard work, and dedication of all involved. NCIS remains committed to maximizing our partnerships to achieve the shared objective of protecting those who serve our families, those who serve our nation and their families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. And also now coming forward is the Bexar County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Nancy Sanford.
Thank you so much for having me here today. And on behalf of Sheriff Javier Salazar. I feel very honored to be in this position to just say a few words. As you can see by all the leaders up here and all these different agencies, the locals, the state, and the federal agencies of all law enforcement in Bexar County really worked together. They worked hard on this operation. It's not just a couple days of going out and rounding up these violent offenders. These are high-risk, violent offenders that our law enforcement agents went after every single day. They had to plan. It's not a matter of just going out. These people are hiding. They're in different parts of the city. They have different addresses. They're very difficult to find. So I really want to give a shout out to all the law officers that took their time. We're out there 12 to 14 hours a day, and the best thing was everyone worked together. I'm proud to say that they broke up into teams, and the Bexar County Sheriff's Office had over 225 arrests during Operation Northstar. And I can't be prouder of these guys. They also seized over 30 weapons, 30 firearms, some of them high-power AR-15 pistols, Glocks with switches, and they also seized a lot of drugs, cocaine, marijuana, methamphetamine, LSD, a little bit of everything, along with stolen vehicles. We recovered, I believe, 3 stolen vehicles. So it was a long summer. They worked from May till September on this Operation Northstar, and I also want to thank the Marshal Service for allowing us to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. So in closing, I'd like to thank you for your continued assistance, especially here with our agencies that are here represented with us. And this will conclude Operation Northstar. In addition to, I'd also like to thank the United States Clerk's Office and the United States District Court for allowing us to use this facility. At this time, I'll take a limited amount of questions. If there's a question I can't answer, I'd like to give it to a specialist that's behind me. Do we have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So it's starting May, right?
Yes, sir.
September 74. This is a fiscal year.
Yes, it was from May to September. It just concluded here on the 13th of September.
And then when it start again, or depending.
So far since 2022, it's been a yearly operation that comes down from our headquarters in Washington, D.C. with the United States Marshal Service. And like I said, they selected 10 metropolitan areas, San Antonio being one this year, amongst 9 others. And that's a data-driven approach. That data is ran by NCIC, better known as the National Crime Information Center, as well as the FBI Uniform Crime Reports. So they look at those areas where we have outstanding warrants, and that was our focal point, was here in San Antonio. Now, let it be known that those arrests weren't only just conducted here in San Antonio, it's that their warrants originated here in San Antonio. So there may have been some that arrests that had to be throughout the nation, throughout the United States, in other states where we had to send a collateral lead to another marshal's office in that respective area. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think you mentioned San Antonio as being number 1 with what?
San Antonio was number 1 statistically overall amongst the other 9 metropolitan areas that were selected. Remember, that selection comes down from headquarters based upon the data that I talked about from these 2 driven investigators.
Just to be clear, number 1 means good or bad?
Number 1 is good. I mean, that means that the individuals standing with me that represent these agencies that were part of this operation with the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force led the arrest amongst the 9 other metropolitan areas. So we had the most arrests during that operation from May to September.
Here in San Antonio?
Yes, here in the San Antonio division.
Okay, now, that is bad too, because, I mean, the highest numbers. So what, obviously, I mean, we're gonna be, putting up all this information in our viewers. And what, so is San Antonio getting more maybe dangerous, but maybe because it's a national trend? I mean, more people, more.
Yeah, I think it would take more data that I don't have available to make that comment. But what I can tell you is this was a data-driven approach, and our headquarters, as well as Department of Justice, has priorities. And San Antonio was one of the selected cities for this operation. And being in that operation, we were able to successfully place the San Antonio division in first place with the warrants that we had available to us to apprehend the most individuals. Chief.
I think a lot of it have to do with when you're talking, number one, we're talking about the collaborative effort and the resources that we pooled together. We've actually got together, planned for several months, and it had a big impact. Doesn't mean necessarily that this city had a greater amount of crime. It's just the amount of work and the effort that we put together, the collaboration, the hours, the manpower to make that significant of an impact. Hopefully that answers your question.
Exactly. The data that was gathered was not necessarily because the city had the highest criminal something.
So if you remember about a month ago, Chief McManus released to our Public Safety Committee our crime stats. And from that, if you watched or you received that data, crime is actually down in San Antonio, both violent crime, property crime. So to your point, it doesn't mean that San Antonio crime is running rampant, violent crime is up. We're actually down. What that probably means for this operation is that there's a lot of folks with outstanding warrants, violent crime warrants, that we needed to round up, pick up, and get off the streets. 2 years ago, we collaborated and are still in collaboration with UTSA and our violent crime reduction plan. Very successful to this point, and the whole purpose of that is to reduce violent crime. And that's exactly what's happening. Doesn't mean because we were number one and we made the most arrests is that violent crime is up in San Antonio. And to the contrary, it's not. It's actually down.
I'm glad that you clarified that because
Yes.
I mean, when somebody says number one, it's either why, and so.
Number one in this point is good because we got a lot of violent offenders, a lot of guns off the street, which was the intent of this operation.
Thank you, Chiefs. No more questions? Yes, sir.
You pointed out this, Mr. Joshua Ford in the news release here. Are you able to elaborate a little bit more about this case and why his case is significant?
Joshua Ford, individual with the homicide. I think there in the press release, I think it said something about a combination to the homicide arrest, right, with an additional charge?
Yes, he was arrested for homicide, and I just quickly Google searched him. He seems to pop up in a lot of news stories as having a history. So can you tell us, are you able to shed any light as to?
I think it's just important to highlight someone like Joshua Ford because that individual itself was a homicide arrest. So that was able to begin the wheels of justice for that victim's family. I think that's why it's important to kind of show that as an example of this type of operation.
Was he arrested here in San Antonio, or was he?
I don't have that available for me where he was arrested. I just know it was conducted, whether it was here locally or outside of the San Antonio division, that he was arrested by the work that was done here in San Antonio.
And are you able to tell us a little bit more about what is it that made y'all decide to start this whole collaboration in the first place? Was it just
Yeah, so like I said, this is something that comes from our headquarters in Washington, D.C. This isn't the first year we've done it. It's actually the second year that the Marshal Service has done it. And we were selected as one of those cities based upon that data that we had available, as well as DOJ, Department of Justice priorities. So, all right. Well, I will be, myself and others will be available for one-on-one interviews if you need that. We'll be around for about 5 more minutes. But if you have any other questions related to this press conference or need information, feel free to come talk to me after. Thank you.
So who will be available?
Myself, as well as the supervisory deputies with the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force will be available. And then some other agencies will be available as well if they don't have to leave.